Now we'll go back there. He has turned up with the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, in Melbourne. Let's take some of that.
Economic growth was lower, unemployment was higher, investment was weaker, and there were budget deficits as far as the eye could see. As a result of the Coalition's strong economic management, we've helped create more than 1.3 million new jobs, and today's jobs figures show that 28,000 new jobs were created in the last month and 320,000 new jobs were created over the last year. 8 out of 10 of those jobs have been full-time, and female workforce participation is now at a record high, and workforce participation rate is also now at a record high. In addition to our jobs growth, we've also, as a result of policies the Coalition has put in place, provided tax relief for millions of Australian families and businesses. And that helps grow the economy and ensures that people not only earn more but keep more of what they earn. We also announced in the most recent budget the surplus for 2019-20, the first surplus in more than a decade, and consecutive surpluses over the forward estimates till we pay back all of Labor's debt at the end of the decade. Unlike Labor, our spending commitments have been targeted, costed and funded, and as Matthias will now outline, have all been more than offset by savings. The Coalition are offering the Australian people at this election an opportunity to vote for a government and for the Liberals and National parties who will continue to deliver strong economic growth, more than 1.25 million new jobs over the next 5 years, tax relief for hard-working Australians, and record funding on infrastructure with more than $100 billion of infrastructure funding committed, more apprentices, and record funding on the essential services of schools, hospitals, aged care, disability support for our carers that Australians need and deserve. And we'll meet all those commitments without increasing taxes. And the same cannot be said of the Labor Party. The Labor Party are saying to the Australian people that they will impose a $387 billion burden of higher taxes. High taxes on retirees, homeowners, renters, people who put money into superannuation, people who run a family business, people who simply go to work and want to put more income into their pockets and into their families' pockets. Remember, the more that Labor spends, the more that Labor taxes. And the more that Labor taxes, the weaker the Australian economy. That's the choice. Vote one for the Liberal Party and for the National Party, for a stronger economy and for more jobs. The Labor Party will only deliver you higher taxes. Matthias.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. Our costings show that we've been very frugal with our election commitments in this campaign. $1.4 billion in additional expenditure on election commitments under the Coalition, which of course stands in stark contrast with Labor's $35 billion spending spree over the same period. And that is looking at their own costings. When taking the cost of all of Labor's spending promises into account, they have made promises in excess of $75 billion over the forward estimates, the current forward estimates period, building to more than $350 billion in higher spending over the next decade. Importantly, all of our spending commitments during this election campaign have been more than paid for with a $1.5 billion reduction in expenditure. In contrast, Labor is just lazily going after retirees, hard-working mums and dads and family businesses with higher taxes. Bill Shorten really is the bill Australia can't afford. Labor does not know how to manage money, which is why they come after yours. Labor's billions and billions of dollars in higher taxes would harm our economy, cost jobs and leave all Australians worse off. Higher income tax under Labor means less take-home pay. Lower income taxes under the Liberal and National Party means higher take-home pay. In contrast to Labor's approach, our economic plan is designed to keep building a stronger economy, to secure our future and to ensure Australians have the best possible opportunity to get ahead. Our costings show that as a result of more than paying for our election commitments with real savings, that the budget bottom line will improve slightly to $45.1 billion in cumulative surpluses over the forward estimates period. This is not the time to turn back to Labor's harmful high taxing agenda. You can stop Labor's high taxing agenda on Saturday by voting for your Liberal national candidates at this election.
Thanks, Matthias. Any questions?
Why did you wait until 2 days before an election to announce your costings when Labor did it a week ago?
We actually delivered a budget on the 2nd of April. This is a very small set of additional measures that's being announced. I mean, we've made a series of announcements during this campaign, and at the end of having made these announcements, we're reconciling against a budget that was obviously delivered only a short period ago. Labor, this is the first time that Labor has come out with any sort of presentation of the fiscal impact of their spending promises. And of course, they haven't come clean with the Australian people. All they showed the Australian people is $35 billion in higher spending over the forward estimates period, when in fact they're proposing to spend about $75 billion more over the forward estimates period, building to about $350 billion over the next decade. That $350 billion in higher spending under Labor compares with about $3.5 billion in additional spending under the coalition, except that our spending commitments have been more than paid for by savings, whereas Labor's spending spree is paid for on the back of higher taxes, which harm the economy, cost jobs and leave all Australians worse off.
That is the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, with the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, in Melbourne, revealing the Coalition's costings for the election campaign. I'm Chris Kenny. I'm joined here by David Spears. We've been watching this, waiting to